I don't know why that is the case, but apparently that is the case. The stream is already unstable, which is really good. Really good news. But welcome on in. I hope you're good. I hope your day was good as always. We have some news. Kinda, not really, but kinda some news. That might be good, that might be good. But yeah, that's about it. We have some small news. Not a lot, not enough to be honest. Grizz, hi. Yes, you are the first today. Welcome on in. How's the day going? How's everything going? I'm gonna go back through where we kind of stopped. It's been a bit though. Cat, hi. Welcome on in. Good day. How's you? Usual questions. Usual questions. I feel like I know we are, that could be here and it could be fine and so on, but um we stopped on something specific last time, and then since then I don't think we've went through a lot. But now that I'm scrolling through the posts that I have saved, I have a lot of things that we haven't really touched on. So yeah, we stopped right there. So that's good. I'm fine that you can't see that. We have some good news when it comes to this section right about here. If I can do that, it's pretty neat. Um, it's pretty neat. Obviously, I'm biased, but we have some very, very smidge changes in terms of the behaviors. Um, and cat, yes, I know that feeling. They use on my side. They used to have appointments in the beginning. They didn't have appointments, and then they added appointments. And now when you go and you have an appointment, you still are considered as if you didn't have an appointment. So it takes as long as it needs to take. And yeah, the only way that I has the ability to just get um, through the system without uh, like them bothering me all week long was to basically have them recognize that I have a company, that I have my own company, and I'm an entrepreneur, and therefore, with that in mind, they're like, "Oh yeah, cool." So we don't bother you anymore. So yeah, Grizz, that question doesn't exist. The app only support iOS 26 and up. That's what happened when you're lazy, like me, and you don't want that. Um, so yeah, it's just 26 and up, and if you're on 18, it's gonna be like, well, fuck you. The reason for this is mostly because everything uh, in the way that Xcode recognize past version of Android, past version of like um, of iOS, and also how newer versions are implemented, is that if your supported, like minimal supported version is lower than the latest one, you will need to add things like if available, conditional statement of like if this is iOS 26, you have this design. However, if it's not, and if it's like 18 or something else, it's going to be this. And if you do that, you basically are duplicating the code many times for as many versions that you need to support. And yeah, that's the thing. So, like for example, can is iOS 18 and up because it's easier. I mean, it was technically 17.6, but that's basically the same thing. And then this one is 26 and up because next year's update is gonna also be supported and so on. So yeah, um, it's the annoyance. Yeah, that is the reason. That is the reason. It's because I am lazy and it makes no sense to duplicate the code from my point of view. Like if you have something that is not automatically system based, you're good. But if you want to use something that is based on the system and it is like iOS 26 specific or iOS 18 specific or so on, you will need to have specific brackets and specific things in your code, and it makes absolutely no sense to me. So that you know is something, but that's where we are. So we have some teeny tiny news, not much to be honest, but I added the admin section for myself, which gives me the ability to just go into reviews and add new entries and so on, so that if I have things that I want to add for every user's, that's going to be the thing. Stony, hi, welcome on in. So that's pretty good. It's not great. It's not great, but it's pretty good. It helps me just go through things. I have the record ID, I have its status, of its content, even though it is kind of broken. Like this section is not good. So we'll see. We'll see if I can like explore that a bit better. But that's where we are. Same thing for the database itself. So it extract everything from the database from the start, and we'll see what we can do with it. So that's the kind of news things. It's the admin section. Only me have access to it. It's bound to my device, so that's safe enough. I don't know. And since today, I mean, technically since yesterday, the app is currently in test flight waiting situation. So we have the beta testing that will be able to start soon-ish, I think. It depends on how fast Apple is waiting or, you know, giving me things to just, approve the fucking build. That's the first of the usual, right? The first build in test flight needs to be reviewed by Apple, and then once they review this one, it means that your review for non-test flight build is going to be easier to pass. So I'm pretty happy with that. And what else did I do? Teeny tiny changes on how things behave when it comes to this section, but like that's not really interesting. And that section is still kind of broken at times. I really don't understand why it's broken, but it is kind of broken at times. So I'm gonna need to make sure that it works. But yeah, today I mostly checked for alignment with iPhone 13 mini, like the small screen that we have available that are still receiving iOS 26 updates. And so it's okay. It's okay. It's not the best, but it's okay. There are some of the things that are kind of broken. I fixed this section to not really have the bottle being on top of the G itself. It still kind of is, but with that change, it makes it very, very close to the edge, as you can see right here. But it's also like outside of the card. Like there is a teeny tiny amount of corners that is outside, which I think is pretty nice, but it would benefit to be like more outside, and that's not the case. So, eh, we'll see. I figured it out at some point. But for now, that's the thing. The most important thing for me is basically it's available in beta soon, and people can test it out. Which means, even though I don't have necessarily the website all done, but we do have a website kind of done. with screenshot of the app. Obviously, all of them are kind of the same thing, which is kind of sad. Also, I turned into a slideshow, which is really bad. And then some information about the app, like really quickly, some beta testers slash enthusiastic people in the people that have seen the app so far. So that's really nice. And the usual thing, like nothing really different so far. It's pretty simple. Um, didn't we already have that? Also, again, because I talked about it last time, I love what I achieved on this one. Um, that's it. Nothing more interesting than this. But I think I did a pretty good job for that drop. Uh, it it's just a gold drop. Uh, yeah. So that's the main news. And then we have a ton of things. I'm currently working on this section to have like a bit more contact information and other um, modes in the app and so on. So that's the simplest things, and we'll see what we can do with it. But yeah, it's working for now. So that's good enough, I guess. I guess that is good enough. And we will need to find something because that looks like shit. And I just did that to, have something that is matching with the P. But I fear, like the usual, that if we have that, it's gonna be read as refume and not prefume. So there is a need for something a bit more interesting in the entirety of said element. I'm gonna figure that out. But yeah. Um, let me check. Let me check. Didn't we say that it was inside of the menu itself? Isn't that what I did? I didn't. That's my bad. Sorry. That's on me. Um, so the logical thing is going to have it somewhere around here, but that's going to break the entirety of the navigation bar, which is not exactly what we want. So I would not say that. You could have it inside of the menu itself, but it feels kind of half wrong, but it would work. Right? If we had like something around here, the second line saying, well, I should stay there. If we just said profile, notification, switch server, preference, and so on. The thing is, we don't really have a notification slash messages section done. So yeah, that's the issue though, because if you're currently connected, currently logged in, currently connected, alive, is the most important thing right now, saying that you are on or off, which again, I don't think that's necessary, but that it depends on you. If it's not an online status, then just having this with the accent color when there is notification, that would make sense, so that the person can know that it exists and it's there. So that basically means that this section here is gonna, you know, be there. Maybe not that, but you get the idea. When necessary, which is okay. Not ideal, but okay. And not red would be best, but yeah, it happens. So yeah, that would be I would say for me, that would be the best option. You just need this, right? It's The only thing that I don't know or I'm unsure about would be basically the fact that you don't have a notification center, right? So that alone is already a bit of a mistake thing um, to be checked. That looks like shit, though. I'm not gonna lie. This is really bad. Mm, I guess that's an option. Hmm. Again, not necessarily the best option, but might be the option to have the notification tray somewhere around here rather than having it somewhere else. So that you have your profile and then you have a button to access your notifications, but then it feels kind of wrong. So that is debatable. That is up for debate depending on what you want to do and what you want to create. The other things is if we go back here, because this one is pretty good, um, and we use a similar design than this, which is basically we are gonna reuse the tray that you currently have. I just don't know where it is on the Figma file right now. That's the reason. That could be good enough for you to get something out of it, but I'm also thinking you might want to do something different, knowing yourself. So I don't know. I don't know. But we could 100% just reuse that, right? Um, so yeah, I really don't understand what's the difference between notification and messages though. So tell me, please, so that I know. Or let me be clearer than that, or more specific. I know what the difference is. I'm just saying, why do you need both? That's mostly the thing. Like messages sounds like direct message throughout or inside of said server. So that's the debatable thing for me. It depends. Depends on you. Depends on what you want to have, as always. Um, yeah, that's the thing. User to user feels wrong to me, but at the end of the day, whatever. Um, I think we had that discussion before. I think we had that discussion when we defined what it was from memory, and I'm unsure now, obviously. I feel like I said something along the line of user to user makes sense when you are doing a watch party and you want to have a chat with everyone so that, if you are doing a watch party and with people that are not in the same room, you can have communications and that would make sense. But then what I probably have said, but I will say that again, I don't know, is user to user elsewhere is probably going to be something related to user to admin 90% of the time. And then, um, just be like, hey, could we add this thing to the server? Could we, some other thing? So, yeah, debatable. Foha, hi, welcome on in. How are you? Who are you? How did you find the stream? Thank you for chatting. Welcome on in. Could use your advice with the design problem I have for video game. What type of video game are we talking about? Or yeah, what's the thing in question? Please share more, and maybe I can help. Yes. If that's the thing, though, if that's the situation of user to user in the grand scheme of thing, is mostly something that is, a, can we add this to the server? To me, again, just a me thing. To me, it's going to be around here. So you, as the user, non-admin from the server, search for something. It is listed because your initial value prop is to be able to have like the one-stop search for all your streaming needs, like that thing. And then I'm getting into the page of something, which is going to be like something like this, for example, which apparently that's broken. That's wild. It happens. And then from here, if you don't have it, what I would expect is potentially have a button that says request. And that would basically transform that user to user message that you have right now into a notification of user X is asking admin to add X movie TV show thing to the server as a request, which would eliminate like the user to user thing in a way, which to me makes it better because you don't need to manage all of the users' chats, or let me rephrase that, handle having user to user chats stored on the server and so on. But maybe that's just me being a dumbass and not knowing things. You know, like, because if you just have like a chat room on the movie itself, it's like separated, dedicated to that movie page, and it's standalone chat. But if you have like an app server wide thing, there is a ton of things that you need to take into consideration, have into the system, make sure that it doesn't break, make sure that everyone can have access from every platforms. So there is a ton of like live messaging that needs to be put in place that I feel like might be a bit too much. Just a smidge. But the thing that my brain is telling me right now is that we do things, but we did things regarding that page last time of adding the where to watch button, which is already only available when you don't have it in the in the like in the server. And so that's something that is important as well. So yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's fun. I feel like it's fun. Let me read that. So the game project I'm working on will have editable controls. Each character can choose a main and subclass for combat, which gives choice on which skills to bind the ball to what I refer to as skills A through J. Okay. The game is kind of roguelite. Don't know what that is, but yeah. With fast character growth and frequent deaths, which start overs. The mage skills A through G will have different look and feel in practice to warrior skills A through G. That makes sense, yes. Lizzie, hi, welcome in. How are you? How's the day going? Players might appreciate having a customized mapping in per class basis. I see. Start over and choose a new class. They shouldn't have to edit the skills mapping binding every time. It should be a one-time thing. That's weird to me, but I get it. But that's weird to me. Um, yeah. So I don't have enough personal knowledge on game UI. I'm not a game dev, nor am I a game designer. I'm just a designer, project designer in general. So that already is limiting. But I think if you go into interface in game, which is one of my favorite references, if you haven't, checked that out already, you may have the ability to just congrats on that nick today, to find things that are going to be related to what you are looking for. So if you go into games or if you go into screenshots specifically, you will have things like skill tree, which is basically what you are trying um, to build. And so in your skill tree, but also in most of the app's existing things, you will have your skill tree looking something like this. So you with your A through G skill set. The thing that I know, but that's also different. I'm not a gamer per se, so limited experience. The thing that I know is that if I have my class, if Caitlin, I think, no, not Caitlin. I forgot her name. I played that game. That's the only game I played. um, if she is a very specific class when you start in the beginning, because you can have Corvo or her, and I forgot her name. Uh, it's two different things, and you have two different story paths, even though they are the same story path. You have your skills A through G, and then you have your basically skill tree here. They differ a tad, but they are kind of the same thing. At the end of the day, the thing is what you said earlier about having your class go like getting through and pass through is kind of weird to me. Something is not necessarily working, as in I would like, or I wouldn't really understand as a player that I'm currently playing with that person. I have 5 skills enabled, and then I switch class and I still have these 5 skills enabled. Like that feels wrong. Maybe it's me reading your message that is not really understanding. But if I'm starting a new class, I'm starting from scratch. So I'm starting at 0, and that's about it. Um, so that's the thing. This one is interesting. I would say maybe potentially Borderlands 3 has a pretty good skill tree path things because you have multiple classes. So that's an option. But yeah. Um, Programming and buy a scratch card. What do you mean by that? Do you want to program the scratch card? Or do you just want the scratch card because you landed on the target? I think that's the reason, but like, interesting. Interesting choice. I should just search instead of, scrolling through these things. Uh, yeah, they are really good. The so interface in game is really nice, but it's limited. Um, the other is game UI database, which is a bit bigger. It has a lot more content and a way less good interface. But if you don't care about that, don't worry about it. It is like really nice. It's they have a small amount of screenshots, so so that's good. There is like a ton of options. There is a ton of things specific that you can find and play with and expedient and so on. But it's really interesting and it's really useful, specifically if you're into game design and you want to go through how things are built and how your skill tree are all set up and your classes and all. So that's an interesting thing and that will be useful for you for sure. So use these two websites. That's my best recommendations for you because they are currently for game designers the best resources. I don't know any other places that are that good. So yeah, these two are really good. Um, Other than that, from what I understood, and as you said, that I kind of understood the thing. um, yeah, my only misunderstanding or potentially understanding, I don't know, is the the skill being transported from class A to class B. It feels like maybe you have seen it. It feels like Sword Art Online, where you know, if you not that if you've watched this and you've watched this to season two, basically, on Gun Gale, Kirito gets his past skills transferable through the games, right? Because same company, same shit, whatever, therefore he has the skills from the past games to the new one. That makes no sense. That has never made any sense to me. It makes sense for the anime, it makes sense for the manga and the thing that they have built, but it it makes no sense in the real game. Uh, like if I'm building a sniper in Borderland using Zero, for example, and then moving to something else, um, that's it would be pretty interesting um, to have and to see and so on. Thank you, Stony. Appreciate it. Efficient. Uh, so yeah. When you then start over, you lose all your abilities and must choose your main subclasses. That's brutal, though. I don't. Yeah, the rules was good. Each time you level up, you get skill points. You can decide to invest them in main or subclasses, which unlocks one of their skills, A to G. Obviously, you could have two skills. To different problems. My idea right now is to display a skill tree unlockable. Yes, that's good. On one side in the panel, show the equipped skills slots. You can drag them. Yeah, that makes sense. TD, hi, welcome in. How are you? The fact that if you die, you lose your skills or your skill point allocated is brutal to me. Um, I get it, but I feel like also Tini, you got confettis and I missed them. Sorry. Welcome back. I have been busy as well. Um, yeah, it's a grind game, so I get it based on how you describe it. But goddamn. Um, Again, from my understanding, what you just said is if I die, I start back from the beginning and I can switch class if I want to, which will basically give me the ability to create a secondary build For the first time I die, right? I can build a new character with a different skill tree pass in order to potentially beat the game easier or more easily based on something. Um, but that basically means depending on how much fucking skill tree you have in the entire thing, right? Let's say you go into one of these and you have like your three main classes that are here. If they are not connected, and it's just if I start here, I only have these skill tree available. If I start here, I only have these ones, which is an option. Um, that's okay-ish, but kind of weird. However, if they are connected, that's going to be kind of more complex in my head, at least. Um, Feeling a very common pattern. I see that. um, hmm, that's interesting. I'm missing something, but that's interesting. Uh, so would it be something that is basically um, you progress through the game in, I would say story, it's probably not a story, but like the campaign type of situation you are progressing through. But then if you die, you can rebuild your character at any point, meaning that potentially at boss number three, it is kind of required for you to be at a very specific lower level to beat said boss in order to pass through. Otherwise, if you are too high level, you can't go through, or there is like some lock based on the thing that you have at the bottom. Um, well, the last sentence, and so it it means that even though you are progressing through the campaign, and that's what I didn't have in my head, you are still required to rebuild, as you said, um, to just uh, create things more interesting. That's weird ass logic, but it could be really interesting. I could see that. Like character sheet build type of game where you basically are asked to say today you are playing a rogue, tomorrow you're playing a rogue again, and in 3 days you're gonna need to be a barbarian to go through something. Otherwise, it's not gonna work. So yeah, it's interesting. Um, hmm. As you said, it is not a common pattern when it comes to skills. Um, I think it's interesting. I think it might be something that will require you to not necessarily associate the rebuild with death, but mostly the rebuild with um, keys that allow you to go through. So if your key is too big, that sounds kinky as fuck. It doesn't go into said door because you are too leveled up, and therefore you need to rebuild, which is not like linked to your death. It's just linked to you need a different set of skills for that specific section of the game. Um, but that's interesting. I yeah, haven't seen that before, which is good. But then again, not a gamer in the slightest. So yeah, I feel like it makes sense, right? If you it, what popped in my head is the dragon game. Um, Fuck, what's the name? Is it longsword? No. Um, you probably know what I'm talking about. uh, like that, you know, that game thingy where it's a bit of a jumping situation, but every time you restart, you get a longer sword, so it becomes more and more complex to achieve, and or you need to think more, and because of that, you need to find the biggest available sword to slay the dragon, and then dip a sword. That's the name. Um, so sad. See, when I was saying that sometimes we don't have the things, that's the reason. Um, Let me see if we have it here. Well, apparently no. Goddamn. So yeah. um, it's interesting. It's a very it yeah, it's a parkour. No, it's a maze game where you're using your sword the same way that you're getting using your hammer in getting over it. If you know that one. Ah, goddamn, it's not in there. That's crazy. That game, you know? Same concept, but you are slaying a fucking dragon at the end, and you need to go through the maze multiple times, and every time you change swords. So it's interesting, but that's like one of the thing because you need to go through said maze, and it's not never the same, but it's almost never the same. Like based on the length of your sword, you have a different maze, whereas getting over it is always the same path, and you just need to get over it. That's it. I don't know how I know all of these things. I don't play games. I don't play games. So yeah, that's a potentially interesting things. But yeah, going back to what I was saying and what triggered this section is if your rebuild is tied to dying, you will probably induce frustration on the user that will not necessarily understand why they need to die. So you know, uh, it's the it's the thing where if it's really well explained in the beginning that you will need to rebuild, you will need to build up your skills in a specific path in order to go into a specific path in the game. That could be good, but that's a lot of UX and user experience to make sure that um, the game level is good. But yeah, that's interesting. It does that, yes. Brain does do weird things and make connections that I didn't know I had, but I do. You're welcome. If you have more questions, feel free to ask. If you have like visuals and things, feel free to share as well because that's more on what I can do and take a look at. But other than that, I don't think I will have more than this as an option. So, oh, Stony, that's kind of dead. I think it's on purpose. Don't worry about it. So, yeah. But yeah, hope that helps. um, Going back to this, I feel like we did the changes, right? I had it the button last time. I kind of created like this thing as a an additional element, Stony, specifically to, say where to watch for the movies, the TV shows, the whatever. My my fear now, based on what I just said, is for the request, right? Instead of having a user-to-user messaging system, you have a request this thing to the server system that will send a notification to the admin, and therefore they can decide to add it, not add it. That's a thing. It will need to be implemented in a way that the I can't help it. So you have right here the user is going to ask the admin uh, for something, and so admin here is going to supposedly receive a notification. The thing that I kind of think about is that when the admin is receiving the notification of, hey, I need this, or someone in the server want this thing to be added to the server right now, maybe they will have like multiples, and maybe if you have like multiple users asking for the same thing, you may want to not stack them, but like basically emphasize them in a way, because 3 person in your server are requesting that thing, so it is more important. So that these are your notifications. However, you could also, and you will need as well, to bring this on the other side, meaning that when the admin has added the thing to the server, the user needs to be notified with a bit of a ping saying this thing that you have requested is now available. I think that's good. It's going to be a pretty useful thing to just go really quick through the whole system, right? Just I request. I should do that. Um, you know, the usual communications in between the two. So the user is sending a notification to the admin for request for content, and the admin needs to send back, not like everything is automated, notification to the user that says this is necessary to be in there. James, hi, welcome on in. How are you? I have so many questions for you. That's not true. It is true. I have questions. But yeah, I think that's a back and forth that needs to happen, but it's also an automated thing. So you should be good with that already with your notification system. And the fact that you will potentially have like a button in here that just says where to watch / request this to be added to the server. It sounds really weird, but it could be an option. Specifically here, like in that specific tray, you could just say like where to watch / request so that it doesn't take that much space. But that's debatable. So you tell me. You tell me where things are, what things could work, and so on. So yeah, James, the things for you specifically was when it comes to this thing, I was looking for CMS related stuff. Went for single role provider, which is like horizontally scrolling. How does it look on mobile though? That's the thing. Yeah. I tried to do the thing that I had in mind with Superbase, and I failed 8 times in the past week. So that's giving you a bit of an idea. I'm a dumbass, you know, so that doesn't help. But I'm trying to build something that makes absolutely no sense, that is the most overkill system ever, but in my head it makes sense. All right. So just brace yourself, and then maybe this could work. I'm gonna go back here. Uh, the thing that I currently have in mind and I want to build is this system. Uh, let's do that in a way that just kind of makes sense, but not really, but kind of, so that we have systems. So I will need one of these. Because that makes sense. Can you center yourself? Thank you. So right now, we have this.
Props_TV raided my stream with 25 viewers.
Props, welcome on in. How are you? How was the stream? Thanks a lot for the raid, as always. Welcome back. For those of you who don't know me, hi, I'm Aoi. I'm the helping designer, so if you have any design question, as always, feel free to ask. We are currently working on something weird, and we talked about it on prop streams when we raided on Friday.
Reiki size is now following.
But yeah, Reiki, thanks a lot for the follow. Appreciate that. Also, I saw someone. Terry, welcome on in. And Chaotic Fox, welcome on in. And PTZ, welcome back. I hope everyone is good. I hope everything was fine on the stream. As always, if you need a raid and run, please do that. If you want to raid and stay and ask a design question, feel free to do that as well.
Foha_Tenchu is now following.
Thanks for the follow, appreciate it. Also, yes, Chris, welcome in. God damn, everyone is arriving at the same time. That's crazy. That is crazy. So right now, I'm thinking about building something that is absolutely not a good idea, but it might, and it's probably not going to be a good idea. So, that's a weird thing. So, yeah. Props for you specifically. Just as a split second of, not that, split second of delay, and also 10 times now. That's crazy. Can you not? Sorry, that's just rude. Why are you so rude? Thank you. That's the app in question. So I know we looked at it on stream on your side a bit better than, that, but like, current system is, again, this is a very personal journaling app for your perfume collection. So you have like your collection with all of your perfumes. You can change how they look. That's just a new thing. It doesn't really mean anything, but it helps. And you have some information. You have some details about the app itself, and then you can add some journaling entries for your experience with the perfume that you are testing, and then you have some details data underneath and so on. So that system so far is kind of working. You have like more information. I know that you said that you were looking for the notes, and then you have also the olfactory profile, which will help specifically your partner for that activities of finding perfumes. But yeah, that's where we are. I also added this thing, which I kind of like. This is kind of broken today because I'm testing shit, but like this is the layering section. So if you are like me and you're getting like perfumes by the samples by a small amount, sometimes you are tempted to layer them together, and so the app is giving you recommendation of things based on what you're wearing today and what you have in your collection, to just say, well, these things could work together well because it, like, the notes are compatible in a way. So that's good. And then um and then now, or not now, but like now, we have this thing which is the purchase assistant, which is going through the database specifically, which is the thing that I'm needing James for, and saying, well, maybe I don't have this, but and I'm debating, should I buy this thing or not? And based on the perfume in my collection, I can see that it doesn't fill any gaps, and there is like a 62% overlap of notes from other perfume that I already have, and therefore it's not necessarily a good idea for me to just buy that. The other thing that I did, which I think is pretty neat, obviously I'm biased, is if you have a perfume in your collection, but you forgot, it will just tell you like you used to have this. So yes, if you want to buy that again, please do. Um, but maybe not. Like just think about it for a second, which I think is really good and really useful. It will help and a lot of people to understand like how much money they are spending on things without knowing. And there is also something that I've found being interesting, um, being if you are like trying to add a perfume that you already have in your collection, I'm just gonna tell you that you're a dumbass and you have it. You just forgot about it. So go look because it's expensive. So yeah, that's the current state of things. It's working. It's pretty neat. It helps. It's currently waiting this. It's not there. It's currently waiting this um, to get the app in review. Or let me rephrase that, to get the app reviewed. That's the last step that I'm in need of right now. So maybe soon, we'll have a beta testing things. But then again, I know that Prof specifically you are like Android, so that's not for you just yet. I know. Sorry. I apologize. But yeah, that's where we are. No, it's not 90-day to review. So the iOS review for test flight is 90-day of available access to that build. So if I don't do anything, like let's say I'm building an app and I don't make an update, that build is going to be available for exactly 90 days for anyone that is a beta tester. And then if I don't do anything, that build is going to expire and therefore get removed from the user's devices. So that's a way to ensure that someone is not like just using the beta testing to have all the apps for free. Um, through test flight, that's a bit of a fail safe on Apple side. Um, did also PTZ did the printer die? I just saw that. Um, and rec size, Reke? I don't know. Rec e-size. I don't know how to pronounce your name. To answer the question about like how do I like the liquid glass iOS 26 thing? I personally don't really mind it. I know, and I've been vocal about it, I think it's shit for 90% of the population that are not minimalist designers. So if you're like me and you're using the liquid glass customization system, which is the new clear thing, and you have a dark background and, like shit like this is a great presentation. Some of these things are broken, but that's just based on the developer, and it's an amazing design. It works. It's really good, and so on. if you are a regular person using iOS 26 and such, you will end up with usually, you know, someone that just adds a background, which for some reason, every time we try to do that in in here, just kind of breaks. And I don't understand why it just kind of breaks through here, but that's fine. Let me do that. Bring it back. Can I just do this and then say done and hope for the best? Yeah. So if you do this, that's shit. That is the least accessible, worst implementation they could have done, and it it shouldn't exist. Like that shouldn't be an option. But they have made like a ton of very good progress overall. Like I can't really show you the tray because it's not available through Mirror. Um, and 90% of the liquid glass things happen to be in the native apps, and in the native apps um, is like it's fine, but it's not necessarily the best option, but it's fine. Like we've seen better, but it's okay. Nothing is bothering me that much that I'm like, I can't do that. I can't deal with that. So, you know, like overall, if you are a minimalist in terms of your background and so on, that's fine. The other thing that is kind of bothering me is this system, the fact that the the accelerometer situation, and I don't know if that will go through on this one, I doubt it, um, does have like a lot of wiggles through or for the icons themselves. So if we go here, that will make more sense. And you know, I'm right about there, so you can see kind of where I am. The the icons when I'm moving, the edge is like shimmering, and the icons themselves are moving as well. That I understand you need that for the realism of said effect, but when I'm looking at it, I can't see that. Right? It's like you notice the edge, but you don't notice the shift for the icons themselves. Other than that, like the trays are pretty neat. They work really well. Nothing really, you know, bothering me. And it's okay. Like it's working, it does its job. It adds some wiggle things here and there. So most of the search functions are now highlighted. If I like, they are also at the bottom, but if I just use my finger for this, it does this kind of highlighting section. If I go into an app like the one that I'm building, which is using some of the native buttons, the settings button at the top is native, and so that means that if I'm basically tapping it and then stretching it down or left or right, it's gonna have that kind of wiggly, jiggly things, which feels really weird. But you know, it's there. So that's the thing. That's the thing. Other than that, I'm fine with it. It's a lot to say for something that simple, but yeah, I'm fine with it. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks for the question. I appreciate it. Um, so James, back at it. The the thing that I'm trying to build, absolutely not a good idea. I'm prefacing that with this right now, which is not the case. But what I kind of want to have is this. And that is impractical as fuck, right? And so currently I am, or I have tried, as I said, to use Superbase for this, but failed. And I'm thinking maybe yours could work for this. I don't know enough, right, about sanity and what it could do and what it could be useful for and so on. But, it could be the thing. So the idea is that I want to use both of the native infrastructures. So iOS apps are basically only communicating with CloudKit, but CloudKit has a REST API that can be plugged with something else. And then that becomes a bit of a hub of managing the content. So the content that is in here is duplicated there. And then in order to get the most native thing on Android side, Firebase is kind of the best option. And so I'm getting the same situation when I'm at some point potentially having like Android apps done. In my head, because Android is a bitch, as always, um, Firebase can be removed and just have Superbase being like the connection with the Android app. It just feels like if this is the data hub situation, that's kind of fine. It's going to be basic records, to be honest, not that much interesting content. And right now, in terms of what we currently have, it's just text and images. We have some images here, but that's just like a very basic table of content. Therefore, it's kind of fine. Some of these are held into JSON strings because it's easier to have like way more content in there. But that's about it. The details that is important is that I'm aiming for something like 200,000 records ish. It is public content. I mean, it's public content. I don't want that to be as accessible as it can be, but it's not like user data. It's just it's perfume data, and based on how the market is right now on perfume related stuff, as you know, most platforms are like um, kind of secretive on what they have in the database, so they don't want to disclose and so on. So I feel like it needs to be public, private-ish, that type of thing. Not necessarily the easiest accessible stuff, but also accessible. No real user-related stuff in there. The only thing that might be a bit complicated is this, which is the UUID. Yeah, hi, welcome in. Of the user, I think, or of the user device, um, which might be a bit not that good. And I might just remove that for security reasons. But yeah, um, yeah. So that's basically what's currently happening. I am in the public database, which is the public record that all users have access to, is the records of perfumes, and anything that is in the private database, you are getting your core data CloudKit zone that is basically tied to you as a private entity of things that doesn't have any reference data, but it has like these two perfume entries and timeline entries that then gives the user or the user's data um, organized and so on, which that's not supposed to happen. It still happened. And so now I have like all of my collection that is in there with my 58 perfumes um, in my current collection. So that's a thing. And there is like all the private data, all the user related data is in the private databases that I don't have access to. I have access to this one because it's testing and shit. but anything else is going to be in the public database. So I failed with the linking in between CloudKit and Superbase again 6 times, 8 times roughly. I don't understand it. Um, so that's really bad. But yeah, that was the ID because it looked really good and it had the ability to get like images and text and so on. So it seemed pretty nice. The only thing that might be a tad um, complex is like the amount of records that I'm aiming for. I'm starting at like 40K already. So I know it's a bit like you usually start with like two, but no, I'm starting with like 40K. But I don't seem to need the rest. So I don't know. Yeah. I have no clue. I have no clue. And the most important thing for me, like the connection um with CloudKit, because that's what makes it the most interesting system. Um because I don't have or I don't want to manage the data through a web portal. So I built myself an admin that runs on my iPad. So it's basically managing the CloudKit entity and the data that is going to be on the CloudKit container. And then if there is changes, it syncs to all the users, but it also needs to sync to whatever hub I'm using. So if it's Sanity, it's Sanity. If it's something else, it's something else. Based on what we just said, the potential of this getting removed is higher than expected. Um, because, you know, like if I need to pay for this and this, when I can just pay for this one and just plug that to Android, that's a potential option. The only thing is that Firebase might be a bit more reactive to like live content update if that's necessary at some point. Um, but I don't know. And this is just basically an admin, centralized admin section. So that's where my brain is right now. It's probably not a good idea. It's probably an overkill thing. But you know, why not? Why not? The most interesting thing, or I would say annoying thing, is that the CloudKit API seems to be annoying because it's Apple made, you know? Um, and it needs so much thing in authorization, in tokens, in keys and stuff that as a designer, still not a dev, I don't like. um, yes and no. So if I have um if I do this, that's gonna be fine. Let's do that. Oh, that's a lot. Um, why am I doing all this for no reason? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Basically, if I'm getting this section to be uh, contained as the iOS app only connect to CloudKit, and CloudKit connects to the iOS app, but also has like an external endpoint something, I can. I'm lying. I can technically say that this is um, Apple infrastructure only. So the app itself only communicate with CloudKit and never with anything else. And then CloudKit itself might have a bit of a link with the data hub, which most of the time is probably going to be something that is the data hub is fetching from CloudKit as an external thing and then pushing through to CloudKit for an option. Which means that this is like an iOS only situation, and this is going to be an Android only situation with the hub being the centralized element without necessarily being like an annoyance. So that's the thing. If I didn't care about everything that is given to me for free um, by Apple, I would simply not have CloudKit at all and have a single Firebase database that contains everything and that just connect to both apps because that's the way to do things, or Firebase or Sanity or whatever. Um, yeah, if we say that, what because of the walled garden enclosed environment and secure things, privacy first, stuff that we need to have. That's it's a bit of a helping situation. Otherwise, as you just said, it would need to be like a centralized database for the data itself, for anything that is public. So all of the um, perfume records and so on. And then, kind of, even though that's already the case, but the iOS app would have something uh, like this, right? You have the not that you have the CloudKit that is related to anything that is uh, user related, and then you have Sanity that would be the centralized hub for um, anything else, and therefore, when I add the Android app on this side, it's just connecting to Sanity. That would be the centralized hub for the data. Uh, but yeah, of syncing both, yeah, I don't know. So as I said, as I prefaced this in the beginning, this is a very bad idea. This is not a good thing. I shouldn't do that. Well, technically, this is basically gonna be here, and these two are communicating right there. So right, yeah. The again, I don't know shit, so that doesn't help. The fact that the syncing system, the Delta Sync that is given to me for free by CloudKit, by SwiftUI by default, is pretty enticing and gives me, or it's the reason why I'm using native stuff most of the time. It's just like I have access to all of these APIs without having to pay for any of them, just by the fact that I'm paying $100 a year to get access to developer contract things of Apple, and therefore I'm having access to so much shit for free. And as long as I'm not having 10,000 users that are using their private, and even the private, I don't know, it's like 10,000 active users on, I think it's monthly, but I'm not sure, it might be daily. Um, I don't need to pay for anything related to CloudKit. However, as soon as I have 10,001 active daily users, I'm probably going to need to pay so much because Apple is going to be charging a ton. But I don't know yet. And reaching that point, I'd be happy to reach the point and pay about it, like that's it. Yeah, I still work. It's still working. Stony had the exact same point last time. And I agree. I agree. I'm spending more time designing and touching the code directly than I used to. So that's a thing already. Um, but I'm just doing the design. And that's the reason why I'm saying not a dev, because I don't understand shit. And I, I mean, I'm looking at it, but it doesn't speaks to me. It doesn't speaks to me in the slightest. And the only thing that speaks to me here is the fact that this image, which is the chevron icon for the right side, is in a very specific font with a specific foreground color. But yeah, that's the thing. Kate, hi, we're calling. Um, I that's the situation. I do care mainly because today, for example, I realized something that doesn't make any difference, but it's still there. The system that I have for ensuring that the user is getting the right recommendation or is testing something, this will make absolutely no sense if I load this. So right now, for example, I'm currently testing this perfume and I am currently in the testing workflow. The testing workflow is specific, but it's defined in one specific file, but it's also used in 3 other files in the code base, and therefore that special workflow thing is scattered across multiple files, which means that it works, no issues there, but it's not optimal, it's not optimized, and it's also not the greatest to, have something that just works and that is stable. So I I do care about the it works, but it's shit, and it could be optimized so much and made in a way that makes more sense. So yeah. Um, Throwing or editing the content with management portals things for the central tab. I kind of want to edit the content. Yes, that's the current position. So in my current admin section, which is really bad, but it's working, I have access to CloudKit records that are currently in review that I have sent myself. And then if I go in there, which is inside of said records in CloudKit, I have the ability to just go through this whole system and say, for example, the gender is supposed to be something, the country is supposed to be something else, and maybe I change the URL some or whatever, it doesn't really matter. Then I change that to reference and then save, which is going to sync that whole system to CloudKit. So that's editing, and there will be a need for so much other things that I haven't really implemented just yet, just because it's, how can I say that? It's a mess. So if I were to add like Mur and Musk, which is a very nice perfume from my personal taste, exist in the database with a very specific name. God damn it. Not a K. And so this one is the one that I have in my collection that I've made myself, but this one is the original that I should have used instead. And the only reason why it didn't go through is because this one is using the non-apostrophed version of the perfumer or the brand name. So for me to make things better, I will have the need to go through the entire database of content and then say, merge these two together without breaking the content on the user side. So it should be easy. Not really. It should be easy-ish. Again, from my lack of understanding, but still understanding, there are things that I could do. There are things that are supposed to happen, which are the current system, or at least the way that I see the current system, is that I have something that I call the reference block with the reference fragrance. Doesn't really matter how I call it, to be honest. But it's that thing. And that thing plus the... No, not that. I pressed the wrong button. Oh, I got it. Interesting. The overall system is using with the I is using this. So I have my reference fragrance, which is going to be anything that is public database content that is then linked to the Swift data container for the user data, which is like the user collection. So anything that is in the user collection is supposed to be a combination of these two things. And the Swift data itself is a bit more complex. It is a combination of the perfume entry and the timeline entry, and both of them are Swift data containers. So I'm just gonna do that with the E. And so, technically speaking, that reference is the thing that is linked to the hub. So if the content changes in the reference, or if I need to change the reference for the users, it should be simple enough, because it's, as you just said, it's basically just holding the ID and switching the ID itself. But for now, it's breaking, and it's kind of resetting these two because they need the unique ID that is linked to the reference to be changed as well. And so far, I've made some mistakes. So, yeah, it happens. But yeah, the other thing that is, oh, there is so much data in this app, even though I didn't think that was the case. But it is the case apparently. Uh, Overall, what happens is I have a GRDB container. That's the thing, package for SwiftUI that is basically helping for SQL databases. And the GRDB itself is split, the schema of the GRDB is split into multiple tables. The Swift data that is on the user device is split into 2.5 tables. And basically, the CloudKit is supposed to be a duplicate of the GRDB, but it's not, because I'm making a shortcut by removing some of the subtables, which I shouldn't, but I still do. So it's a mess. It is. It's a big ass mess. So yeah, I don't like it. 1 second though. So it's a mess. That's where we stand. It's a bit of a mess. Um, and so that potential data layer that I'm talking about is making sure that the mess is even bigger than what it currently is. Uh, God damn. Um, but yeah, and uh, again, there is like so much. Uh, you would avoid syncing where possible. What do you qualify as syncing, though? Because you know that probably me, still a designer, uh, doesn't necessarily know exactly what you mean by syncing. You just mean like having exactly mirrored databases type of situation. I'm thinking yes. Um, yeah. So you would probably do this system, rather than this system, which kind of makes sense. But yeah. Hmm. Yeah, the issue that I have with this is the private on-device situation that is one of Apple's key trait, where I can take advantage of this and just say it's working because um, it's private, it's on device, and so on. That makes more sense, but technically speaking, I do understand and agree that this is a better option than what I have in my head right now. For sure. For sure. No questions asked. I get it. I get it. That, though, that's pretty good. Do you have any creator YouTube channels recommend to teach how to create apps? Kinda. It depends on what you're wanting to build. I love Sean, for many reasons. Um, but Sean is really useful. This one is really useful too, you know. Um, but Sean Allen is really nice when you're looking for iOS related things. There is a full course on like building iOS apps that I've basically followed. Not entirely, but like I basically followed it. Where the fuck is it? I think that's the dang. I think that's the one. Which is really good. I do recommend it. I do recommend Sean in general because it's pretty nice. The other one is Tom. I think I think the name is Tom. Um, ah, James, I just saw that. Yeah, well, that's also the thing. Again, I'm currently at 40K, which is already pretty high for the amount of records that would be in there. The fact that CloudKit is gonna handle pictures as well, so that's the thing that is a bit of an annoyance because it's heavier in terms of data to hold and so on, but it's useful, and you know that's something that is annoying. Um, but yeah, um, Expo is just not for me because I'm not really the biggest fan of building. non-native native apps. Something about it, just me as the dumbass that I am, uh, is reluctant to do that. So, yeah. Kane, when you have a bit more understanding of SwiftUI, Sucody is really good. Again, as I said, this is um, this thing, this tutorial that I followed is the reason why we have the swipe activity on the home screen of the new app. Like I followed through everything and it just works. However, you kind of need to understand a tidbit of how SwiftUI works to make sense of all of this. Otherwise, you just end up just, not necessarily. um, yeah, I guess Expo is really good. The other one might be like just React Native. The thing is, because I don't know, um, and because I don't care much, I don't necessarily know who would be good for um like teaching React Native. I'm sure there is like a ton of them that would be pretty good, but yeah. Um yeah, I mean Expo seems to be really good. Right now, specifically right now. A lot of people are talking about it. James is talking about it. Techie is talking about it. And it seems to be building better and better stuff. So there might be things that, will basically help you understand people that will just give you some tutorials, but I don't know them and I can't really tell you, um, yes, that will work. So, and I don't know what that is specifically. So, yeah, the most important thing or useful thing, regular thing that happened is specifically now, most of these coding languages, design specific related stuff existing will have some sort of a YouTube channel with tutorials. So most of the time, these channels are going to be good enough for you to just understand and get a better idea of what you can do with the tools, with the language, and so on, and then give you some new things to do, to use, and such. So right now, for example, they have liquid glass management on the build 54 that just popped in on Friday, on Thursday, on Friday. I don't know. I forgot. It doesn't matter. Um, but yeah, that's a thing. So might be good, might not be good. I don't really know, but it's there. It's an option. Um, I would say if you are looking for building apps and you are interested in this, I know you have much more code understanding than me. That's a given. We know that. Um, I think React is going to be pretty useful if you have like a tad of understanding of JavaScript. You should be able to better understand React, and then Expo being built on top of React Native, that would be as well pretty nice. The other option is the Kotlin multi-platform. I forgot their name. But basically you have a version that is like based on Kotlin that is native to Android, but also can run on other machines with no issues. And that's an option as well. But yeah. Is document like a record, by the way? Ah, yeah. So I am by default at 40K in the custom pricing I don't have a choice. I see. Uh, so I could make it like $2.99 as an add-on to get 50K more, but because I'm aiming for 200K, I would need to do that 10 times. Maybe not. The reason for 200K, by the way, is this. That's my aim. They currently have 210K, and I'm thinking that the probability of me reaching that at some point is low, but that's the aim that I have in my head, to make sure that anything that I'm building right now is preparing for potential of reaching that point. I doubt it, but we never know. So yeah, that's the reason. That's the thing. Cross keys. Hi, what morning? Um, yeah, maybe. I just remembered because, I made an account and so on last time. I just remembered the interface and specifically the previous design of the website, and the ease of visual ease of how to manage the fucking data, because it's a fucking CMS thing, and that seems really good. That's the reason. That is the reason. There is the other one, which I think is Payload, that we talked about. The Payload is now acquired by Figma, so that's different. Um, but it's the same situation. Like I feel like if I had an interface that looked like this, to an extent, it would help me so much as again, not a dev, because otherwise, not gonna lie, this is okay. It's not great, but the fact that I can just get in, go into set data, change the JSON related format, even though it's kind of shitty to edit the JSON right there as it is right here, but it's fine. Um, you know, it's it's okay. I can do that. And I can have like a filter of saying that I can filter by the source string, which is supposed to be somewhere around here, that is equal to in review, because that's what I need the most. And then when I have this, I only have like the records that needs to be reviewed, and therefore I'm kind of good. It's kind of going to be faster and easier for me to just play with that. But yeah, 200K cross keys. That's the thing. that that yeah. I'm loading, or I'm preloading the app on download from the store with a pre-populated SQL database with 44,000 entries. I need at a minimum to sync these 44,000 entries from CloudKit to the user device, just to make sure that they are communicating and they have the same data and they communicate and they are happy with each other. Anything else, anything that comes later, is going to be basically added. So, for example, each of these, like these 8, are additional data that didn't exist in the database in the first place, that I built myself manually. And now, if a new user, which is not the case because we are not in production mode, but if a new user in dev environment came in, they would load the app for the first time on the device with the 42,000 entries, and then trigger a sync that will basically fetch these 8 records to their device on top of the thing that they already have. So it's a big ass mess. All that for the sake of the app is offline first. That's the reason. So yeah, it's a lot. Um, um, I made myself a nice friendly UI. That's the thing. So the beginning of the discussion, Kroskeys, is this. My ID, and apparently that's a bad ID, was to have the iOS app that communicate with CloudKit and CloudKit to the iOS app. Like that's the thing. And then the CloudKit container is also communicating with the data hub, which could have been Sanity, but apparently that's not the case, based on the amount that I'm allowed to have, the record amount that I'm allowed to have here. And therefore I would have like a UI that is okay-ish. It's still annoying to have like a CMS with 200,000 entries, but it's still better than nothing. And then with that data hub later on, which right now, like that doesn't exist, but maybe later on, I would be able to add like a secondary app for Android, which would use like Firebase as a container, which if you think about it, which I did, but not enough apparently, it would mean that at the end point of 200,000 records ish, I would have 200,000 records here, here, and here, just synced across 3 databases instead of just simplifying the thing with one database with the 200,000 entries, and then CloudKit is just for personal sync of user data. But yeah, so what I did, because what I did is this: I basically added inside of the app itself directly an admin section for myself, which is linked to my device and my device ID and so on. And from there, I can just go check the database. It fetches the database that is local to the device. And then from there, if something is in reference, but it has some issues, I can come in and, get there. The what? What are you talking about? So I have made myself something that made sense. This thing? No. Oh, you mean this one? Yeah. This is the sendDNA for the user. It's kind of broken. It's kind of broken. It's also not good in the slightest, to be honest. Like that's one of the part that I need to heavily take some times on and really figure out, because goddamn, it's important and it's useful for the users, but also it is such a weird situation. So yeah, like right now it is how did I call that? Yeah, it is additive, meaning that if you like a perfume that has woody note in there, it's gonna add a certain percentage based on the whole collection. So it's percentage based throughout the entire collection, throughout the entire amount of perfume that have that note. And so if you reach a point where you have like 1,000 perfumes, you will need to check against the 1,000 for each of these things, meaning that you have like 14 to 15,000 calculation to do, which makes absolutely no sense. This is the most impractical thing that I've done. As you can tell, I do things that are a bit too impractical all the times when it comes to data, and I hate it. I wish I didn't. I wish I didn't. To come back to your question, Kane, it works, so it's fine. But I do care because what works is really bad, and that's really sad. Uh, Let me read that message though. Um, and yeah, so the things cross keys for building like data entry into the database directly, it's basically what I've built. I just have the admin platform for myself, and so it just checks stuff, and I can just go in, make sure that I change the country, the concentration, the thing that I know exactly what needs to be, and then I just change that to reference, save it, be done, and so on. So that's a that's a good thing, but it's a bit annoying already. And I made it to right now it's one by one, and that's the thing that pissed me off because it shouldn't be one by one. I should be able to say select this one, this one, this one, and this one because I know that they are complete and they contain everything that I need, and I can just validate all of these. So I can kind of do that with like the select and move on, but it's just not making any sense just yet. So it needs more work, but you know, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine at some point, maybe. Yeah. Also going back to the 200K thing, yes. Uh, as James said, the fact that I'm already reaching for 40,000 records, which is documents on their side, um, means that I'm already in the custom payment situation. Like I'm above the gross thing. I'm on the enterprise section already. So yeah. Um, what do you mean by that, Kane? What do you mean by that? Cross keys. What do you mean by prune? As in clear it out? Or do you mean something else? And Kane, going to the AI stuff, basically the entire code base has been built through Cursor, so it's built through AI stuff. But I don't think AI is good enough for learning, at least not yet. Um, There are some redundant copies, but I already limited the amount. So I deleted like so many fucking files, so that's already something. But basically anything that is in my JSON backups that are in there, I have files and database entries. Like this one, for example, has 92? No, 98. Yes, 98,000 perfume entries. And a lot of them were not complete. They didn't have notes. They didn't have other fields that I need. So I figured out a script to extract the ones that are complete and the ones that are not complete. And based on that, I had like 48,000 entries. And then in there are some duplicates. So I deleted or figured out some things with the brand names that are different that don't count as duplicate, even though they are duplicate, like the one that I showcased earlier. So I'm limiting and reducing the amount of entries in said database as often as I can, but also I can't do the scripts myself because I'm a dumbass, as always. And so it's it's really complicated. Um, and already manually managing like 40K records to make sure that the data sanity, yeah, the data is sanitized, is a lot. So it's feasible, but uh, yeah. And so Kane, yes, the system basically with cursor is generating the code for me, and then if I wanted to, even though I don't want to pay for this, I could have like code rabbits or bug bots from cursor directly that review the code. The thing is, it's okay. Like the code is generated because it builds. There is no bugs, and there are things that could be like implemented better, but it with this level of complexity, again, I don't fucking understand how I reached that level of complexity. But um yeah, it's just it's not as reliable as you want it to be. It could, but it's usually not. And eh, eh. But it exists. To answer your question, it exists. You have options. CodeRabbit is one of them that is pretty good for the GitHub pull requests. Basically, the thing is, because I am a solo person and I'm not having like a team to manage and so on, my pull requests are, as we talked about before, have the best names and the best explanations. you know, like this one, these three have been generated through Cursor automatically, or technically these four. So they have like a proper name, they have a proper description, and they really explain what happened. But it just doesn't make any fucking sense. Um, so that's the thing. Yes, please ask. So it is, to answer your question, it is feasible. There are some AIs that will help to get the things working. It's just the um, overall. I have the word in French. I don't have the word in English. God damn. That's a first. The viability, no. The goddamn brain. The feasibility, no. Well, I forgot. Brain is not working right now. It's on vacation. Um, the safety might be a bit of an issue, and it would be easier, better if you didn't do that, if that makes any sense. So, yeah. Just the point of doing my own research, so all I can do is send you links of my own samples. Cool. Yes. If you have like a platform, like I don't know, My Mind, Milanote, Pinterest with mood board and stuff for your research, that's also a way for me to just get like a global ID rather than you send multiple links. Not that I care about multiple links, but it's a thing. Um, yeah, OpenRouter is good when you're looking for running things through an API. I'm more of a on-device running situation. Um, so that, you know, like I'm running Llama 3. Yes. 2.5? 3. 3. No, 2.5. On my machine. Like on my Mac, it runs when I have to do things in the background that can be automated through the system. For example, um, oh, that's gonna break. Yeah, no, that's not gonna work. For example, the notes section that I have right about uh, here are I I ran that through um, through Llama to make sure that the descriptions for each of the notes were good enough, uh, or not bad. So all of the things like the description here of making sure that I just have something that makes sense is very simple, but I just ran that through um, the LLMs to make sure that it worked. Apparently, yes. Not really, but kinda. My Mac is dying. Uh, yeah, I think my computer is gonna die, which is fine. I'm fine with it. Uh, yeah, you need to refresh the stream, sadly. That's the most annoying thing lately. And the fans on my Mac are currently blowing out, so that's something. Um, or pause and resume, yes, that's an option. Um, but yeah, I know, I know. It's not the best. Not the best. I mean, I can see that um, even on my phone, I'm like very, very late. So that's a starting point. Anyways, um, so yeah, okay, I'm more of a on device than a not on device situation, just because it makes more sense and it helps. But yeah, if you want to do that, do that. Tell me when it's there. Um, the whole system is breaking. That's crazy. That is crazy. uh, yeah. No, that works. It works. I would say, based on what I said earlier, you know, um, if you just added um, a button, the first one being like a request to add to server or request media to admin something. I don't know how to. I don't know the words specifics that you need to have, but something there that would potentially just ping the admin and saying, well, someone is requesting Archer to be added to the server. That could work. That could be an interesting thing. But yeah, that column things with the scroll is pretty good. Is good enough, I would say. The only thing that makes no sense, but then again, you're working on it, so I don't know how much I can say, would be the fact that this link, based on what I saw, was the or based on what we said last time, was the same. It's basically sending you to the movie DB where to watch situation, I think. And then from there you can access all of the websites and stuff. What I would potentially do, if that's an option for you, even though I don't think this is the most user-friendly thing, but if you have like the name of the platform and you already have the URL of said platform in an array somewhere, like you stored them, you could just make the user click, and then they achieve or reach that website directly rather than having to go through the MovieDB and then the website and then there. So, just removing one click. However, I don't think you would have the ability to get to that end website with the search pre-filled with the right name easily, unless you go through each of these platforms and go through their search system and understand their URLs like format to see if it's like search colon, if it's search slash, if it's search something else. So yeah, I don't know if you will be able to do that. That's why I'm like, if you have this and it's search, and then you have your usual thing, which is like slash q based on what we can see here, and the question is, um, I don't know, star track, for example. That's what I'm looking for. If I do this, I'm gonna end up in this things first, and then I'm supposed to reach the search page. The thing is that search question mark q equal the word in question is not necessarily the same for each of the platforms. And so you would need to know each of the platforms formatting in your Switch case. Which I think as a palliative, a transitional state of you doing that first instead of doing anything else would be a pretty easier version, right? You just load this, you let the user arrive here. So if it was Archer, for example, you would end up here, and then probably would be that. Therefore, they could click on this. But reaching, like, basically reaching this is going to be a bit more complex. And I don't know if it's worth the effort. I mean, yes, it is worth the effort. No questions asked. I don't know if it's worth the effort now. But yeah, um, debatable. But I get it. I get it. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. So the only thing that I would say then is probably, and even then, this is kind of weird to me. Um, but request button and then the list of where to watch um, is an option, but it also feels kind of weird because you're expecting this to be the where to watch option, and that's it. And so if you had the request here in the menu, that could be a very easier way to have it. The thing is, it's not that intuitive for someone that is not uh, tech friendly yet. So yeah. Um, and then yeah, but that's it. I'm seeing things that I'm you know me by now. Why is this not centered? It's so close, but it's not centered. This one is, and this one is wider for some reason, and this one is wider for some reason, but this one is not centered. And it's fine though. Knox. Yeah, it is. It is close enough. Cross keys were with where's the message? I'm waiting for the message. Waiting for the thing. They haven't pressed enter yet. Uh, but yeah, no. Other than that, this is good. This works. This is a fine thing. It will do its job. And based on this view, which is the regular sized things that most people will see in terms of layout and ratio and stuff, you're okay. Um, I feel like adding the request in the menu is a good idea for now. It makes it faster. Adding the request in the watch options is it makes sense to me to an extent. Like it's just I'm looking to watch it, therefore I could request it on the server so that we have it on the server. Is a brain signal that I, that I that makes sense. But yeah. And now intrigued. Why? What's this? Zine. Because that word appears a lot. What's Zin? Zai? How do you pronounce it? Oh. Ah, yes. Like in German. Zin. Not really, but kind of. Um, in that context, is. God damn it. God damn. Okay, so new project in the UK fucking sucks. I see. Welcome to newspaper. Over the last 10 years, our local newspaper have been vacuumed up by the same company. I think I learned about that or read about that not so long ago. Blah. Yes, I'm doing my best. Mm, yes. Uh, Thank you. Appreciate it. I appreciate it. This is gonna piss me off. Ah, if only, if only there was a way to just, open directly in the browser instead of that. Did I open this one? I guess yes. Um, so I did my best to read, but as always, we're talking about me, so hard to read text. The thing that you said was most of these have a very, very similar, or that's very German uh, time period. God damn. Uh, holy shit. Very similar branding minimalistic things. So, while I was reading your message, the minimalism of things is, yes, 100% something that happens a lot for many reasons. It is the
The
same
free code is
things.
now following.
The free code, welcome on in. How are you? Who are you? Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome on in. Did I say welcome on in twice? Yes, again. Usual. So it it is meant the same way. That's gonna be some titties. Um, the same way that this is minimal, right? You end up on a platform that as soon as I remove the images and the content itself, the website itself is extremely minimalistic. You don't have anything. So the content shine in the interface, which is the point. So here you want the content to be as central as as it can be, so that you can just focus as the user focus on the content rather than focusing on anything else. And so most of these are using the exact same patterns. They will have two options. They have the list view, the grid view, um, that are the initial things, and then you can use some sort of an RSS feed to fetch the things, or at least you should be at some point. We used to be able to do that, and now that might not be the thing. While I was reading, based on the fact that you are saying that everything has been brought back by one specific, also that website is some sort of an infinite loop for no fucking reason. God damn. I mean that's just a little bit more the thing, but it holy shit, brain. What happened in my head is ground news is because it is some of the ads on YouTube seems to be exactly what you're looking for in a way, right? The fact that this thing is somehow um like well, I made a mistake. But yeah, that thing being somehow like multifaceted with multiple options to get access to the news based on the political spectrum and so on. Sadly, this seems to not be an access for free situation, even though you can access things for free based on the fact that, it's that preview thing is supposed to be like contained into something, and that's the thing in question, I think. But then when I'm removing it, oh god damn. Uh it's behind things. It is there. I was right. Let's say that's the thing. God, they got me. So yeah, that's the that's an option. Ground news might be an option for you to take a look at for inspiration on how they have made the design, if that's your questions. Um, but There is so much in terms of standing out, providing value to the people that are looking for news in a way that is not owned by the same people. And then, uh, as far as today, someone in my TikTok feed was saying that they were currently building a new news app thing. So I might have some things for you that is a bit related. Let me just see if I can find it. Um, I doubt it. I don't think I will see anything or recognize anything. They were like a new person, so I haven't seen them before. That was like a first time type of situation. Um, and it looked interesting-ish, you know. So can I share that this way? Is that an option for me? It is. So they were saying that basically because of the whole TikTok being acquired by Oracle, they are building a news app type of situation. I don't know where they are with this. I don't think they have anything, um, you know, done. But apparently their thing is called Interval with two eyes, and it looks like a Framer build design website, so I'm fine with it. Um, but that might be something that is interesting to you as well for reference and inspiration and so on. So if you want to, watch that video specifically, why not? Uh, and the other website is this. That's gonna be easier, to get just the link, the direct link. Um, that website is kind of shit. So yeah. Um, again, yeah. No, I mean the website itself is like the presentation for the app, so that makes sense. The app itself is uh the whole thing. Did I see something? Sorry. Ah, yeah, I did. I don't have the sound, so I don't know what's happening. Um, but yeah, I'm kind of sad about it. I don't think I can have video playing at the same time that the stream is running. I think that my Mac is against it. Um, yeah, I cannot. I cannot. I'm still frozen on this one. That makes no sense. Um, so yeah, that's a potential that's a potential thing that you may be interested in. Let me just do that for the sake of, me not dying. Maybe. I doubt it, but we never know. Yeah, that thing is so hot. God damn. But that's gonna be so bad. Sorry if the mic is distorted. I have a fan just pointed toward my Mac now. um, no, yeah, I'm live. So you're good. Don't worry about it. The only thing that I would say is your message that is right here is not necessarily giving me a lot of questions. Um, like other than this, which is should I just do the same thing basically? And why not? Right? That's an option. It's not necessarily the best option if you want to stand out, but it's an option. The other thing or the other potentially important things to take a look at instead of using this as a as references, which are currently inside of your current potential interest for the thing that you're trying to build, I would say look into things that are adjacent. That was the wrong fucking screen. So these, technically speaking, are news related articles and content related to news. That's what news related article means. But it basically is something like, I don't know, like that. Medium is an article based website. And that's basically the same thing. You want something that will help you get a design that is more aligned with news in general. Again, ground news is pretty good for that specific use case because of the unbiased things. The last one that I shared, interval, is similar, right? To get like a an unbiased version of the news. That's basically what they're advertising and advocating for, which makes sense. But you can get into anything that is blog related and then get some inspiration from said blog related things, mainly because it just makes sense. So if I go into blog UI design for research purposes, you will have a ton probably of blog related articles or blog related website articles and so on that are similar to what you're looking for in a way, because it is just um, what it is. The news is basically just blogs with different purposes, but it's the same thing. And so that alone can give you some stuff like this, for example, and be like, well, I do like this thing, not exactly this one, but I clicked on it by mistake. It's, maybe you like this and you want your homepage to look like this to stand out a bit. I don't know if I would recommend it, but why not? you know, that's an option. That's a thing that you can have to just stand out from the crowd if that's your goal. If again, based on what you said, it seems the only um not positive things, but the main point and the main reason why you are currently thinking about doing this is because all of your news related agencies and prints and other websites are currently owned by the same conglomerate of companies and probably the same company at the end of the day. And therefore, there is a bias, there is an agenda that is pushed by these companies for the news, and therefore you don't see everything, you don't have access to everything, and so on. And therefore, just having a familiar environment with the content that the people are looking for is sometimes enough to just stand out from the crowd. So that's the thing. A big push for like parity with print. I think element text with minimal images and justifying alignments. Yes, there is something. So we're gonna go into the business type of thing. business side of things. Um, we know that in France, that some of the print magazines and newspapers and so on, they currently have an app for the news and their magazine in paper, like in physical things. And what happens, or at least what we have discovered, is that um, how can I say that? Most people have been more interested into buying physical lately for print and for news and for stuff. And the print industry is making way more money than the digital industry for news and magazines and so on. So, not that you necessarily care about profit and capitalism and so on, but as a point, it is important to note that this is a thing and that you basically have something that might be um, more profitable if it was like physical than if it was digital, if that's the thing you are looking for. Nonetheless, the parity in between the print design and the online design for the same articles comes from two things that sometimes are linked and sometimes are not linked, but usually it's just laziness from the side of the IT department on the newspaper side because they need to go through the InDesign layouting of the pages, making sure that all of the articles are properly organized in the newspaper and in the right order and so on. And once you've done that once inside of InDesign or whatever tools they are using, well, you have the thing. And so their laziness usually is just like, what if we just copy pasted that inside of the website and be done with it? And therefore you end up with like parity with the print in terms of how things look, just because it's a copy paste type of situation. And we end up with something that's exactly the same. So that is something to think about when it comes to parity. And then lastly, if you want something that just is easier to read, because that's also something that is really important. Um, and I know I'm plugging Medium most of the times, but Medium is really good for reading. And Medium is a place where I used to spend a lot of time for reading. Me, my dyslexic ass was reading articles on Medium pretty often, and then I kind of stopped. But for a long period of time, I was reading articles almost every day, and Medium was the only platform that I kind of went to because it just makes more sense. It's readable and it's easy to understand, and not the syntax, but like the layout, the presentation of the quotes, the images, the things are pretty useful and they help. That's something to think about, and that might be good for you. Um, but yeah, um, the god damn, that's gonna break again, right? That's gonna make me break. So this thing that we talked about before, um, is should be pretty useful and should help you as well to make better decision when it comes to like how to choose the font. Um, if you want something that is like classic, familiar, and maybe you want something that is serious because it's the news related stuff with a lot of neutral related, um, like no side picked and so on, you end up with a selection of fonts that are like very limited. You can, as always, have like something that is a bit more on the serious side, more on the neutral side, and so on, and you get like more options. The fonts you choose will have a psychological impact on the user that is reading, and most of the time, a font like this, which is a sans serif, which is not a sans serif, which is a serif font, will evoke something that is mostly newspaper E and credible E. And that's why when you look at medium titles in the past, we used to have a slab font for like for the titles and the elements, and then they changed it. But we used to have like basically this font for the titles because that is evoking some importance and credibility and so on. So that's something that is really important, good to know, and so on. Laura is a nice font as well. It is a very used font, which is fine, but it's a nice one. Spectral, I don't know if I know it. Yeah, it's. I mean, they are similar. Um, I don't know. Oh, so sad. Ah. Yes, kinda. Uh, so yes, you're kind of right. They are, but also not entirely. Um, but kind of. Okay, so this is my way of checking things, and like whatever. At the end of the day, you do how you want to do things. I usually just make the fonts on top of each other, put one at 40% or 20% to see the difference, to see if they have like characteristics that I prefer. And if they do not, or if they do, I'm just going to check them a bit closer than each other. For example, right now, the Spectral has a bit more of a personality when it comes to the elves, and the uh, Laura has a bit of a one. It looks like a one to me. So that might not be good from my point of view, but it's also that's a definition. Laura has some characteristics of the print environment, and there are things that are also bothering me based on me being not someone that reads very efficiently. So we have things that I'm seeing right now, which is like roughly 3.5 pixels of difference in between the edge and the top of the E, whereas here we are mostly like at 4 points to, be at the same situation. But overall, the E itself is that's the width, and then the E on this one is a bit thicker than the other ones. So we end up with, I mean, it's even thinner than this, but I can't do a 0.5 on this one. Um, yeah. So based on that, the recognizability of the characters themselves when you're reading might have an impact, but um, you know, that's the that's the thing. That's the how you could potentially select and choose something to use and play with. But then again, I do remember that like we used to have something related to the font itself at some point. That might be because I was paying before, um, and now that's not the case. So I don't have access to that anymore, which is fine. But the font that they are using is really good, and they are using like a serif font for the text itself, which is Buckeye, apparently. That's the name. Um, and, it works. This is more of a flab, a serif slab mix than a slab itself, but it counts as serif. Yes. Um, like these two are really similar though. I mean, they are the same fucking font, but yeah. So you would need something like this, and specifically for the use case that you have, yes, the font is going to be extremely useful and extremely specific, and you will need to have the best potential font for what you're trying to achieve. But I don't think that's necessary to think of right this instant. You might be better off thinking about the technicality of things and the way that you are presenting the layout of the page rather than the font itself. So maybe just use source, sans, which is fine. It's going to be a serif font anyway, and all LoRa or Spectral or whatever font you have, a combination of a sans serif for the text and a serif for the title is a common pattern. Medium is doing the opposite right now. They're doing a sans serif for the titles and serif for the text. So that's something. Just know that the serif fonts are sometimes easier to read for some people and harder to read for others. So for me, I would rather have like a sans serif to not bother my brain with extraneous shapes, dyslexic. And for other people, sans serif font is going to be easier to read for titles, but then it blends in, and so serif font adds these tiny bits and stuff that helps them just read faster. So that's the thing. The potential, mostly useless, but potentially useful, is going to be audio version of the articles if that's something that you're interested in and you want to have. As always, we have like open source text to speech type of situation right now that are really good that you could potentially integrate without having to have like a server that manage this. So that's a good thing. But yeah, other than that, I don't know exactly um, if there is anything else that I can help you with on this one. You could go with something that we talked about last time. I think for your portfolio, technically, um, which was this. You know, for the articles it's themselves, I feel like the design on this website is pretty interesting and potentially pretty good for an article based slash news based environment just because of how interesting it becomes. But it is also extremely limited and it has more of a personal touch than anything else, right? Um, so that's the thing. Yeah, I do agree with that, though. I do agree with that. But there are things that could be taken as an option. Um, you could play with stuff that they have built, and going back to I think what I gave you last time, Indie Ground. on Tom in terms of like things that you can use for, personality and so on. You could have, why did I go in freebies? You could have in the texture section some of the peppers, some of uh, you know, the other things that you could just use. Uh, go back, go back. Um, go into freebies, right? Use the free vintage textures for the background, for the articles, for the fonts, for the whatever. It could be really useful to stand out and give the user that paper feel. What is it necessary? No. Would it make any difference? No. Kinda. Just a smidge. You know, like it's a very simple thing, but it could make a difference and it could help a ton. The textures themselves, like right now we are in the very much pixelated version. They are way better than this, but I mean you know what I mean. Will help. Like right now, I have some of these that I'm like maybe I could use some of these paper tone stuff for the app itself because it makes sense, but it's it's a lot of work. It's a lot of things that not necessarily make any sense to you specifically when it comes to what you're trying to achieve. So based on that, like that's yeah, that's something that is really similar. So I feel like this is mostly millennial designer trying to work on this. Ah, yep. This is yep, this is 30 plus. That's 27 to 30 plus designers for sure. I mean to go with these colors, these kernings. Ah, goddamn. Not bad. Just very dated and very aligned with the target demographic, which is fine. So that's an option. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing that we have here, for example, like that graphic thing, and the other one that we had a second ago for this one, for example, is obviously something that has been built specifically for that article, which makes sense, right? You make sure that you have something that is coherent for the entirety of the you know that person um of the content that you are building, but then it's the same thing as UX bitch, that's the wrong word. UX is it the UX survey? No. No. Who ah I, I guess Tom. Oh, Tommy? No. Tommy? No. uh I doubt it. Designer Tom. Um so it's UX tools. Goddamn. UX tools is a bit of a similar-ish situation where it will probably break the stream based on all of the fucking effects they have. But when you look at their articles, even though it is designer related and it is extremely specific in terms of what they are trying to, provide, each of these things you have extremely specific rendering and illustrative things. A lot of them are lazy. Like this one is one of the laziest version of the thumbnail that we can have. There is a lot of them that we've had in the past that are extremely similar. It's just, oh, we had the image, but we didn't have the time to do things. So let's just pass it through our thumbnail template, which has like the image in the center and then the dithering on the entire image plus the background texture. And then we're done. And it's part of the entire UI of said website and branding and so on, which is an option, you know. But by the way, if you want that, if you want to just spend some money for no reason, go ahead. We do support the boy around here. Specifically now, they have a bit of a discount. But yeah, the boy is a one-time payment software for dithering, and you pay it, you have it, and then you can play with it forever. And we do like it. Um, but yeah, it's making the stream crash. So I think this is pretty good in terms of layout, UI potentially. Branding is opinionated, which is fine. Um, but might need to be like more neutral, and that's why like ground news and interval might be a better option overall based on how simplistic they are. I mean, ground news is very opinionated and very US based, so that's depending. But interval, which we, you know, were on a second ago, that is very minimalistic things. So, um, yeah. I think Substack is just an RSS feed, so that doesn't really mean anything to me. Um, like, yeah. Once you have your Substack and you can allow for the like outside, um, I feel like that's the main thing. Is just like you have your CMS with your content, and then you can have it on the website, or you can have it on the app, or you know, that kind of makes sense to me. But eh, um, yeah, we don't have much there though. Would you be willing to do the same thing? I don't think so. I don't think it's a good idea, to be honest. Um, like, yeah, that's what you said earlier. Um, yeah, I don't. Hmm. I don't think. Um, Based on what you said in the beginning, that going with a US based company is gonna be exactly what you want to do in order to be separated. Um, but Yeah, I don't know. Stony, yes, kinda to 1.5 second is I mean, the usual is like 3 seconds, but for some people it seems too long, so 1.5 is half of the time, and it makes sure that the UI doesn't really change when something happens. It changes when something meaningful happens. So yeah, 1.5 is pretty good for that. It helps. It helps. Um, just a tank. Um, yeah, I mean, Substack would handle subscription, paywalling, distribution, CMS, potentially the website if that's necessary, based on what you just said, and 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 that's good. But you then potentially end up with something that is going down, going like in a way, weirdly enough, censored. So, uh, so that's not necessarily a good thing. Even though I think you should chat with Alan. Alan might be the right person for his AT protocol thing. I feel like the AT protocol, which is basically what is behind Blue Sky and other platforms that are similar now, might be the right move for you because it is something that is Web3 ish, not really. Um, but based on how it is, it could be really aligned with what you're trying to build. And then I'm gonna say that, and I know that a lot of people don't really agree with what I'm about to say, but blockchain is blockchain is pretty good for that specific use case of untethered, unbiased truth kind of thing, where it's there and it's never going to be edited. It's there. It's the truth at the time. It's the news for that specific instant, and it's minted in an NFT kind of thing, and it remains on the blockchain until the blockchain dies. And because the blockchain is held and maintained by any person, that's a very efficient way to manage like some of these data. So that could be something, but also, you know, complicated. But yeah, um, that's the thing. Other than that, I think that's just a smidge, half a second. Should be good. Half a second is not long. Yeah. The current that I have is photo. I think photo is uh, I forgot if it is actually AT Proto or not. I don't remember. But yeah, I that's the situation. I don't remember. um the other one is Skylight. Skylight? Skyline? Skylight? Skylight. Um this one was supposed to be the TikTok of AT Proto situation, meaning that if you post on Blue Sky, it posted on Skylight, and if you posted on Skylight, it could post on Blue Sky as well. At the same time, that was pretty interesting. But also, um, it was just that girl all day, every day on my feed about the same fucking thing. Huh. um, yeah, the thing is, again, Alan, the idea of Alan has or is building something very similar to what you're trying to say. Um, and then the one that I talked about last time, which is Rodeo, is a very interesting thing as well. Um, it's a bit of a like weird feed to like just go through your whole system and so on. But it's interesting. It is, however, like a lot of AI generated content, sadly, even though you know it happens. It's fine. But yeah, it's a nice things. Thank you. Appreciate it. So yeah, Alan is doing something. I forgot the name. I have Napoleon in my brain because that sounds the same. But yeah. So yeah, that's I think that's yeah. I think that's most of it. Holy shit. Napoleon. Yeah, that. Thank you. Appreciate it. I appreciate it. Um yeah, I don't know. It sounds like Napoleon, and as a French, it sounds like Napoleon, and that's about it. That's all I know. um I we talked about it on Friday, and I want to talk about it again. Uh, they have made Xiaomi again have made the most iPhone looking Android phone again because they are good at that has a battery that is twice as much almost as the iPhone 17, and they made a magnificent video presentation about it, and I think it's in this feed, and we need to take a look, to be honest, because it's impressive. um it is impressive. This one was really interesting as well, just a side note of things. um yeah, but like the fact that it looks the same, people wouldn't even realize that it's not an iPhone. That's the that's the beauty of Xiaomi phones. The always fascinating to get insight into how normal people are reacting to the new phone or new phone designs, but here is really interesting. We as designers and people that are on the internet all the time expect specific behaviors, and then regular people are doing things, and then the designers and the devs and the people that are on the internet are surprised. As in right now, a lot of people that have been um, never heard of iOS 26 before and the liquid glass thing because they don't pay attention to this have updated their phone, their web phone, their devices, and now are into two camps. Some of them are like hating it, and some of them are loving it, and it's really interesting to see. So, yeah, taking a hint of what's currently happening on the real world is really interesting as well. Really interesting. Um, we've had some very tiny things that this concept pops in all the time. So we see that folder hard drive situation happen all the times. So that was something. The that button was for someone else. This one was mostly for Denny, which hasn't been here in a while. And then there is one specific that I'm looking for. Um, I don't know if these are gonna make the stream break. I doubt it because it's video. Apparently, Tim Cook was in Japan and decided to make manga on the iPad with kids. I don't know if that's good, but the fact that the mangaka and the people in Japan are using iPads for creations of the content is a good advertisement, and that's just an ad, anyways. So we like it. Um, there is this thing. I don't know if you've um, seen that thing happen. Avi apparently is creating a wearable that is called friend.com that is just saying that if you don't have friends, you can have like an AI talk to you and be with you at all times and, be your confidant. And so everyone is dogpiling on him, which is really good. We like it. The thing that I hate though is that everyone that is dogpiling on it, me including right now, is making this thing more popular than it needs to be. And apparently they have raised so much money already, and it just makes no sense. So yeah, there is like other things on that feed that are like related, but yeah. Um, this one was really, really good. I don't know exactly how they've made it. I think this is some sort of a shader-ish. I know that it's like geometry playing with uh Giracell, but it looks really good. And I feel like this is something that the Apple journaling app is kind of using similarly. Not exactly the same thing, obviously, but for the creation of the flower shape in the center, that's probably the same thing. But this is really, really good, and we like it. Um, this popped in. If you are on the internet, you have seen that happen. This is like a new lamp designed by Johnny Hive, that the guy that made like the first iPhone and some of the first uh, Apple products. And this thing cost 4K, and it's just a lamp for uh, sailors. It looks amazing, but it's uh, it's a lamp. Um, so it happens. It's 4.8K, sorry, 5K. Anyways, we have an insurance fraud cat. That happens. That happens. Uh, this, if you haven't seen this is pretty interesting. That person has made a script or something that combines every single thumbnails from a specific YouTube channel. And so you can see what happens So, for example, for this channel, the person is usually around here, and the title is usually around here. Sometimes they're on the other side, but like usually, like it's one or the other. And in the backgrounds, weirdly enough, you usually have some sort of gradient things. And so, um, that is something that can happen. Yes, let me just put you onto something. I hope they are here. That's some titties, and that's some titties as well. God damn, that's a lot of titties today. And I don't have much cats on here. Um, in some of the thing that I have on my feed on Xiangzhi in China, there is multiple accounts that are their entire thing is going to or going toward cats and just filming them. I doubt I doubt this will work, but we never know. um, yeah, I doubt it. I wish I could, but I can't. But yeah, there is like a very heavy demand um, of like people just filming cats and and just live in the street type of cats, not necessarily anything else. I don't know if you've ever um, seen Max the cat, um, but also like other cats, like this one, which is just that's their whole content. The one of their cat has a camera and they just film the day and then they just put the videos on the internet and that's it. And they are making banks because 152,000 likes means that that video alone probably has had a good 3 to 5 million views, if not more. Um, so yeah, and yes, I have seen that as well. Um, I have. So to answer your question, you probably would have a better output by filming cats and putting that on the internet than having a job as a designer right now. So yeah, that's the thing. Um, this one was really interesting as well. So I feel like this is something that is such a vibe coder situation where this URL now is anybody using that private key is something that can happen just because nowadays GitHub is filled with just private keys available right there in the world for no reason other than people don't fucking know what they're doing. And it's kind of fun. Anyways, if you haven't seen this one is pretty interesting. So Camden is doing a new, not trend, but kinda adding animated backgrounds toward glass-related features on softwares and apps specifically. This one is for the button. There is a bit more above, but it is interesting that this is something that is coming back. We used to have animated backgrounds a long, long time ago. Not the same though, but right now we are bringing them back slowly to make websites more engaging. So that's an interesting thing that could become some sort of a pattern. I saw this and that's pretty nice. But there is another one that we have above this that is a very much more liquid than liquid glass. So That's pretty neat. If you haven't seen this, that is the news. China has created a glue that repair bones in 3 minutes. So they say no surgery on metal plates. You still need to open the fucking thing to put the glue on the bone, you know? But this is impressive. And if it works as well as it is advertised, that's a good news. That is a very good news. So, you know, that's the thing. This one is something that I need to share. And I need to share that on many platforms. We need to have that in the resource section because it is necessary, but you also need that in the chat to have access to these things and remember them and use them. So these are the latest safe area section of the iPhone. So we now are growing the head, and the bottom section is growing by 2 pixels. I think both of them are growing by 2 pixels. Bottom one used to be 32, now it's 34, and the top one is 54. And in my head, I have 52 as a memory situation. So I might be wrong, but that's the current thing. The 778 in the center doesn't exist. This is a false value because that value depends on the phone that you currently have. So if you have like a Pro Max, it's going to be bigger than if you have a Pro or 17 or 13 mini. So these, wrong. But the other top and bottom, pretty good and good to remember, good to have as a thing on your phone, on your head, somewhere, and so on. This is the liquid glass that I was talking about a second ago. Highly recommend liquid glass. Not even glass anymore. I think this is just water. And I feel like this is really good. It's a very interesting environment and a very, I think, power intensive simulation of water, but everything is really well working together, I think. So, you know, pointing that out. The backgrounds that I was talking about. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. But then, I don't think it would be that transparent. But yeah, agreed. But yeah, they have made this one, and you can see how it's propagating the water in particles, which is not exactly how water works in the slightest. So I don't really know if this is good, but it's interesting nonetheless. You know, pretty neat. This is Charlie's thumbnails. The room is the exact same thing all the time, and that's pretty fun. And Charlie is just not existing in the center, so that's pretty neat. This was mostly for Denny specifically because it looks similar to what he did for Planned, but also, you know, that's the thing. This one was a reminder, and I'm impressed by that reminder. I do remember that the XR, which I think is the one that they have used as a reference, had a bigger bezel than the rest of the phones of that era, but still, that is an impressive reduction of bezel sizes, and we do like it. We do like it a lot. This one for the one that are debating why I don't have a job right now, that is the reason. That's yeah. if you are starting, you need to say yes to almost everything. And if you are later, you can afford to say no to a lot of things and still be good. So, you know, that's uh, that's a thing. That is a thing. That's the same cat as earlier. Um, this happened. I forgot who asked about the headphones on Friday. It was someone that was new, I think. And these just popped in. I don't know if they're good. I don't know if they're bad. I just know that it's made by CMF, meaning that they are made by Nothing. And the Nothing headphones, one, were pretty good. So I'm expecting these ones to be okay, and pretty cheap overall. So to be checked. The design is really nice. I feel like the cups are going to be comfortable based on how it looks on this. And it has, I think I like the secondary picture. Yes, this one. It has a lot of colors and a lot of options to mix and match things. So, potentially making things personal is interesting. Um, so, yeah, that was a fast run across this entire thing just because I needed to. But yeah, it happens. It's pretty good. It is pretty good. Um, so yeah, overall, not a lot of things happened, to be honest. Most of the things that have happened have been related to these things. I finally started to do the marketing stuff for the app because the beta testing is going to start this week or next week, depending on how Apple is reviewing things. And yeah, we should be good. We should be good pretty soon, which is pretty nice, to be honest. Not gonna lie, this is a pretty good news overall. It just needs to make sure that the whole system of database that I was talking about earlier is working as intended and not breaking anything because god damn. So yeah, that is the thing. On the Going back to the note of the news app thing that you're working on, Crosskeys, I feel like you might find something like a blog infrastructure like Substack that would allow you to get the benefits of Substacks without having the issue by making it self-hosted and or something else, but like an open source version of Substack might be the best option. And when it comes to the monetization paywall stuff, I feel like there are probably options as well in the open source community that would just give you exactly what you're looking for in a way that is just so much easier to implement without having to think about it too much and end up with something that is really good. So could highly recommend you to, go with Substack in the beginning. That's the thing. If you wanted to, just to go faster, and then refactor, build something else, create the different entry points, and so on. But I mean, that depends on you as always, and your end goal and how you align with companies and so on. So sometimes that's not a good idea. I get that. I understand. But yeah, I would say that's something to keep in mind and potentially just think about to use something existing rather than trying to build something from scratch. The ID might be exactly what you need to start with, and only that, in order to make sure that the people that you're potentially targeting are interested in what you are about to propose. And then uh, implement more stuff that are interesting to them, for them, and so on. So, yeah, potential. I don't know. To be checked. To be checked. That's the thing. God damn. Why is me so tired? I don't know. Why is James still alive? That's crazy. Uh I feel like I'm gonna send you to Cat because it's been a while and because she's been doing a lot of content related stuff. However, she's playing Genshin, so that's not necessarily, you know, the best option. But it happens. It's fine. It's fine. My computer is just dying. That's the reason why I'm sending you somewhere. uh, anyways, as always, thanks a lot for being here. Highly appreciate it. If you want to watch the VOD for some reason, that's going to be on YouTube. Um, and yeah, if you wanna ask a question when I'm not live, you can join Discord. That's useful. If you wanna give me some money, you can buy UI kit, or you can learn Japanese and use that. That didn't go through. That's crazy. Anyways, I just turned into a fucking slideshow because the stream plus the computer just doesn't want to work together. So yeah. Um anyways, take care of yourself, enjoy the rest of your day, and so on. You know, the usual. And I see you, yeah, I'll see you on Wednesday. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just turning into the biggest slideshow ever. It makes no sense. I don't even know if you have the sound. That's the thing. It doesn't matter. Bye.